Other thing I'm thinking about seriously is I may not stay up here. I'm thinking about possibly the possibility of maybe basing myself in a place like Perth, and the main reason for that is the connections to Asia are so much better, because I can fly direct to Singapore from Perth, and I've done this in the past. It's about a 5-hour flight, so that's really good. And the bonus is that now there's actually a direct flight from Perth to Heathrow, so you can fly direct to the UK. And this trip that I'm doing now, the next trip coming up, is going to be 4 flights. So I've got to fly all the way down to Melbourne, 3.5 hour flight. Then I've got to connect with a Qantas flight back up to Singapore, and then I've got 2 more flights before I get to Madrid. And that's not my final destination anyway. I've still got to get a train from Madrid to Seville. So there's a hell of a lot of travelling involved. There's 5 legs of travel. So yeah, I'm going to be making sure I take my sedative so I get a bit of sleep along the way, otherwise it'll be just a disaster. But yeah, so it's quite a convoluted itinerary. Mind you, at least today it's made me have a bit of a walk, and that's good, because I did put on a bit of weight, and it's not as bad. I weighed myself this morning on the scales, and it actually wasn't quite as bad. It was about, I think I came out, with my eyesight it's hard to see the scale exactly, but I think it was about 87 kilos, which is still pretty heavy. But I think yesterday at the hospital it was about 89, and of course they're obviously using much better calibrated weight measurements than my crappy little Kmart scale. Well, mind you, your weight does vary at the time of day and everything, and what you've eaten and what have you, but I'm going to cut back on my food consumption. That's basically what's going to cause it, and especially with sweets and things like that, that's what really causes the problem. So a bit more discipline what I eat. I've been eating nuts at night after I've had my main meal. Go through about a quarter or a fifth of a pack of mixed nuts, and that probably adds a bit of weight too. So just got to basically show a bit more discipline there, and the weight will come off. It'll come off naturally from my travelling anyway. I always walk a lot more when I travel. So I'll be doing a lot of walking on the trip, because the area in Saigon I'm going to be in is much more walker friendly, less congested, a lot of parks. District 7, yeah, much better environment to walk around. So I'll be using Grab a lot, but mainly to get from District 7 to District 1, and it's about a 20-minute ride, I think, depending on the time of day, because traffic's horrendous during peak hour. So if I want to get to the bar at around 5 o'clock, to number 5 bar, probably best to leave around 4 o'clock, and avoid most of the peak hour and just dag around the area for a half hour before I go and do happy hour. Anyway, we'll see how it goes, but yeah, Grab is wonderful. Around Seville I won't really need transport much, although there is public transport. They've got a ring bus service which I hadn't used, and I will do this time. And but of course everything there is more expensive than in Vietnam. In Saigon it's so cheap, doesn't really matter where the dollar is, it's still fine. But at the moment I'm just watching where the euro's going, and the Aussie dollar's just fluctuating at a low level. Lost about €2, which if it's made up I'll just go straight to the bank and get some cash and take advantage. But I've only got 3 weeks to go now, so who knows what's going to happen with it. I don't know if it'll go much lower, and hopefully it will edge up a little higher, but currencies are so they're impossible to pick, so just fingers crossed on that. Okay, got all that sorted out. I've got the right forms for my blood tests. Oh geez, I have to work hard just to get forms so people can stab me. It's wonderful. But yeah, it's all been sorted out now, and the people there were quite nice. They did apologise, and I found out that the person I saw, it was their second day on the job. So Yeah, I have some sympathy for that. There'd be a lot of juggling happening and what have you, so I guess if the guy's on his second day, this will be a salutary lesson for him. Yeah, I'm tempted to get that old electric scooter out for at least one run before I head off overseas. I just don't think I'm going to be using it much in the future. Mind you, if I did move interstate, I could then be in a ground floor place and make it more viable. Although it's a shame because Cairns is a great place to do it. It's quite flat around this part of town. But I am nervous riding the thing because you can fall off quite easily, move fairly quickly, and having crappy eyesight and a hunk of steel under you that can go around 20 k's can lead to disaster if you're on a slippery surface. Thursday afternoon, very overcast today. The weather's just turned again, but no rain yet, fingers crossed, but very dark clouds. Yeah, I've been trying to actually learn a bit of more Spanish because the pressure's on them. It's not far off before I head off on my trip, and I really would like to be semi-fluent. I don't know if I'm going to ever achieve that, but we'll see how it goes. But today I actually had a slight breakthrough, and I've had a real sort of log jam with trying to get on top of the grammar. I wasn't quite sure when to use certain pronouns and things like that. I can't remember what a pronoun is, to be quite frank, because it's been so long since I did grammar at school. But I did get this. I looked at a course that's run by an American guy. It's mainly aimed at. I think he's got a bit of a southern accent. It's mainly aimed at people in the States travelling to South America and Central America, but he still covers, he says, Spanish is Spanish, so it's okay. There are slight differences depending on which continent you're talking about, but he even does make reference to Spain as well. So, but in spite of all that, the grammar apparently is the same. So he gives an example of which verbs you're supposed to use in which context, and that's really been driving me nuts because I couldn't work it out. I like Michelle Thomas. I think it's a good course, but one thing he doesn't do, he doesn't set up these two grids that this guy writes on a whiteboard, and which outlines when you're supposed to use certain verbs. And it's just all of a sudden he has explained it in 2 lessons online, and they've got on YouTube, and it's basically now all making a lot more sense. I mean, he did cover the areas that have been covered by Michelle Thomas as well, but he's actually covered the whole area of grammar. So now I couldn't work out why we're using slightly different words in different contexts, and now I do. I get it. And everyone's different. Everyone learns differently, and there'd be a lot of people that would have worked out exactly what was going on from the audio book that I've got of Michelle Thomas. But for me, I needed to see this thing on the screen, and this guy's technique for me was clearer, very clear. So it was just good. It was just a breakthrough for me anyway, because now I'm working on vocabulary more, because I just don't have a big enough vocabulary. And so what if I put things around the wrong way or whatever? I'll mangle the language at some degree anyway. It's going to happen. But if you don't have the vocabulary, you really can't have a fluent conversation. You need a certain basic number of words, probably a couple of thousand, I'd imagine, to sort of make it reasonable. Although apparently people don't use that many words in general conversation. It's only a few hundred that come up all the time, because I've had studies of reading newspapers and what have you, and have said things like that. It's only a few hundred words that are used all the time. So if you get those basic words down, you can string together a lot of sentences. Although I've been watching a really good series I've watched before. It's called Narcos, about Pablo Escobar, based on that story. It's quite a good series. And I've been trying to understand, because there's a lot of subtitle dialogue there. They're speaking in Spanish. And I'd be buggered if I can understand more than about 20%. So it's a bit of a task. So yeah, I'm an old prick, you know. It's hard for old guys like me, I guess, to learn these languages, but I'm having a go at it. And some of the vocabulary is very easy because for instance, today I discovered that if I want to say I'm short-sighted, I just say something like a story, which is I am, and then I say meope. Now that's really easy for me to remember because it's obviously a derivation of the word myopic, and so I don't have to, my word association, which is the way I try to remember these words, and it's the only way it seems to work for me. I have to work out some other word to attach to the new Spanish words that you remember, and that actually worked perfectly well. I've instantly remembered that one because it's so close to the English, and it actually makes sense too. It's the same word really in effect. It's almost myopia, it's just slightly different spelling and pronunciation. And that's what's great about Spanish. Picking up a vocab, it's probably one of the easiest languages to build your vocabulary. So that's what I'm going to concentrate on mainly the next 2 weeks, and using this grammar guide to basically clean up my grammar as well, make it a little more, makes more sense, because, you know, whether you're talking to the first person, second person, third person, you know, I am, you are, we are, that type of thing. You know, when do you say those things, or what Spanish words do you use to convey that's what you're trying to say? So yeah, I went into a bit of a slump with it for a while, but now I'm more energised. Probably because there's more time pressure on me now. I'm getting closer to the trip, so every day really does count. So it's good. It's good in that respect. And now I'm going back to Australia Post because they didn't deliver to my door again. They just don't seem to want to do that, even though they're supposed to. And I'll take the opportunity to go up to Murphy's, do my regular visit there. Oh, speaking of Murphy's too, they have ratings of all the products, which is quite good of them to do that. I think it's the same philosophy they have with Target. Target do that online too. Kmart don't, but Target do. And there was a rating for Vickers Gin, and boy did the customers really bucker and gave it a 1 rating overall, which is really bad. The reason being, it's a mixer drink, but the way it's sold, it looks as though it's gin, and people have bought this product thinking it was actually pure gin, and it's half strength because it's a mix, and they were not impressed. And I don't blame them, because the price is the same as I'll pay for the Windsor, which is full strength gin. So yeah, I don't know why. I think Dan Murphy's ought to clear that up, make it clearer, because they're going to get a lot of dissatisfaction over something like that. And I think it's a bit shonky the way that Vickers have advertised it, because they must have known people were going to think that's to get that ambiguity and make it not know exactly what's happening. But anyway, minor problem. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you think there's anything there of use to you, or entertainment or whatever. And either do that or give me a thumbs up, or if you're feeling really energetic, do both. That'd be great. But please don't ignore me. That's the worst thing you can do on YouTube, is be ignored.